the entire progeny of the Pandavas. Yeah. So he swore to himself about. And then that night, he went to all the chambers of the Pandava sons, and he went and killed all the Pandava sons and the grandchildren as well. Yeah. And the next day, news comes to Ashwathama that Uttara, who is the wife of Abhimanyu, yeah, who's the wife of Abhimanyu, who is again the son of Arjuna and already killed in the battle. So the child of Abhimanyu growing in the womb of Uttara is still not killed, is still there. Yeah. So one progeny is still left, right? So Ashwathama decides to send a Brahmastra and kill this child in the womb. You know what is the Brahmastra? It has a speciality. The Brahmastra has a speciality. You know what it is? Whenever the Brahmastra is, it is launched, when the Brahmastra is launched, it will surely, for sure, it will find its target and it will kill the target. So Ashwathama releases a Brahmastra and it goes straight towards the womb of Uttara, where the child is growing in the womb. And now Krishna is also present there. Yeah, Krishna was also related to Arjuna, right? So Krishna is also present there, and Krishna enters the womb of Uttara. And what this child inside the womb sees is a blue light encircling all around it. So Krishna had entered the womb and was protecting this child from the Brahmastra. And when this Brahmastra came, it could not kill the child in the womb because Krishna was protecting it. And now this Brahmastra has a time span after which it gets diffused. If it doesn't strike the target within a certain period of time, the Brahmastra will get diffused. And so the same thing happened. The Brahmastra got diffused and the child was saved and safely delivered. You know who this child was? What was the name of this child? Parikshit. The name of the child was Parikshit, King Parikshit, son of Abhimanyu and Uttara, grandson of the Pandavas, grandson of Arjuna. Yeah. And then Parikshit grows up a little, and in the meantime, Arjuna comes to Indraprasth, and he comes with the news that Krishna has left his body and gone to the heavenly abode. And hearing this, the other Pandavas, they get so shocked. And as it is, they had lost all their interest in life because their gurus were dead, their relatives were dead, their grandparents were dead, uncles were dead, brothers were dead. So there was no interest in life. They didn't want to even live. And now that Krishna is no more, it just struck them and they became highly disillusioned. And they really wanted to give up everything and go away. So all the Pandavas, they decided to take sannyas and they left for the forest, leaving this child Parikshit on the throne. Yeah. And after a few years, Parikshit grows up. Are you getting the story, everybody? The background, the entire background of the Bhagavatam. So Parikshit grows up and he becomes a very nice king, a very noble king, a very able ruler, rules with dharma, liked by all his subjects. Everybody liked him, Parikshit. And one day, he went out for a hunt. Those days, the favorite pastime of all the kings and princes and everyone, it was hunt, right? Those days they did not have Facebook or they did not have Twitter. They did not have computer games. So the best way to distract themselves, to keep themselves engaged, the best entertainment was hunting, going for a hunt. Yeah. So Parikshit, along with a few of his men, few of his army men, he went out for a hunt. Yeah. And midway in the forest, suddenly Parikshit lost his retinue. He got displaced from his retinue. So he went searching all around for them and he could not find. And it was almost afternoon. It was very sunny and he became very hungry and thirsty. There's no food, right, in the forest. And he went in search of water here and there and he could not find anything. And far ahead, he saw this hermitage of a rishi, a small ashram of a rishi. And in front of that ashram, there was a Maharshi, there's a rishi sitting and meditating. There was a saint sitting and meditating. And so he galloped, he was on his horse. So he galloped towards that ashram and he saw the rishi and he said, "Can you please give me some water?" Now this rishi was meditating and he still did not open his eyes. Even after Parikshit said, "Give me water," he still sat meditating. Now Parikshit must have asked him 2-3 times and still this rishi did not respond. Now, normally Parikshit is a very nice king. Normally we are all very nice people, aren't we? Yeah, we are all very nice people. But whenever you are very thirsty, whenever you are hungry, whenever you are very sad or depressed, what happens? We do crazy things, right? We do stupid, crazy things. And for that, we also sometimes regret later on. Yes or no? Yeah. So same with Parikshit. He was very thirsty and hungry. And out of that anger, he got so angry with the rishi for not listening to him. He saw a dead snake on the floor. He took out his sword, picked up the dead snake's skin and put it round the neck of that rishi. And he got on his horse and galloped away in anger. Now, as this was happening, the son of this rishi comes in. So the son of this rishi had gone to a nearby river to fetch some water, to take a bath and fetch some water. So this rishi's son comes in and he sees, this king putting a dead snake skin around his father. Father is a Maharshi. Putting a dead snake skin is such an insult. So he got so angry with this king, so angry with Parikshit. And out of his anger, he cursed Parikshit. He said, "You will die of a snake bite in the next 7 days." How many days? Next 7 days. And hearing this, the rishi who was meditating, he suddenly opened his eyes. He said, "Hey, what have you done? You have cursed this king. This king was our best bet right now. Anyways, getting a good ruler nowadays is so difficult. And him also you have cursed with death. Now there is no one else to look after us. It's okay, he must have done something wrong. Maybe out of his anger he must have done it. But, we could have given him some lesser punishment. But you have punished him with death." And then this boy realizes his mistake and he says, what to do? So the rishi says, "You must immediately go to the king and tell him that, you have given him this curse. At least he deserves to know that he's going to die in the next 7 days." So this child, this son of the rishi, runs towards the palace. And by this time, the king had already reached the palace. The king is on his horse, right? So king is on his horse and so he has reached the palace. He has reached his house. And when a king reaches the palace, there are so many people who come with, orange juice, lemon juice, biscuits, cakes, and all refreshments, right? So everybody came with refreshments and the king has the refreshments, sips his coffee, and he's immediately refreshed. Yeah. And he sits, aram se he sits, and the moment he rests, suddenly it comes to his mind, "Oh my God, what have I done? I've put the dead snake skin. Oh my God." And he says, immediately I have to go and seek for forgiveness from the rishi. So he doesn't wait. He just gets up, takes his belongings, immediately rushes towards his horse. And at that time, who comes? The Rishi's son. See how dramatic. Yeah. All Bollywood style. Yeah. Very dramatic. He's about to go out, and at that time, the Rishi's son comes in. And the Rishi's son comes and falls at his feet and he says, "Oh king, I'm so sorry." He said, No, wait, I am sorry. No, it is my mistake that I put. Said, no, wait, listen. You have to listen. I've already cursed you. You just have 7 days to live. And Parikshit at that time, he listens to him and he says, "Thank you. I was anyway going to come to your father to ask for a punishment, and see, you have already come to me with the gift of your punishment. So this is my luck. This is my good luck. This is a blessing that you have already come with the gift of punishment to me." You know, this is why a king like Parikshit alone got the Bhagavatam. Yeah. Only if you are willing to take responsibility of your own mistakes, that is where the knowledge comes. You know, there are so many people who wanted to join this program, even registered for the program, for the Bhagavatam. But is everybody here? No. Only a few people are here. Yeah. Only the Parikshits are here. Yeah. Others will never come. They can register for the program, but they will never come. Only if you are willing to take responsibility of your own actions, only then the Bhagavatam story is revealed. Yeah. Only if you are willing to take responsibility of your own mistakes, that is the time when the divinity reveals to you, reveals itself to you. You know, we all make mistakes, right? You and I, we all make mistakes. We have made mistakes. We continue to make mistakes. But you are the one who's willing to take responsibility of your mistakes. Yeah? So you are all the Parikshits here. Those of you who have joined here and on YouTube. So you are all the Parikshits. Yeah? So you can give yourself a pat on the back that you are all Parikshits. You can all give yourself a pat on the back. Yeah? So this king, Parikshit, he says thank you to the Rishi's son. And he immediately turns to his Kula Guru. You know, those days, all the Rishis, all the kings would have different gurus. They would have a guru for everything, for every purpose they would have a guru. Yeah, you have a Shiksha Guru, you have a Diksha Guru, you have a Sad Guru, you have a Kul Guru. So there were many, many masters. So he turns to his guru and he says, you know, I just have 7 days to live. You tell me how best I can, you know, utilize these 7 days so that I get a better life in the next lifetime. How well I can utilize the next 7 days before I die. I wish to atone for my mistake. What can I do in the next 7 days so that these karmas, these impressions are washed away and I get to live a better life at least in the next lifetime. So this guru, the minister who was also the minister of Parikshit, he tells him that yes, why don't you listen to the story of the Bhagavatam? Why don't you listen to the Bhagavata Katha? So Parikshit says, oh, Bhagavatam? Is it the Bhagavad Gita? You know, many of you had the same question, right? Is it the Bhagavad Gita? You know, if it was the Bhagavad Gita, I would have written it, no, Bhagavad Gita. Now, when I'm saying Bhagavatam, then it means there's something different. It's not the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah? So, where can I listen to it? How can I find it? So the minister says, the guru says that, you know, there are so many people right now, there are so many people who talk about the Bhagavatam. But out of them, there's one person who's the best at it. He says, who's that? He says, this is Shuka Bhagwan, Shukadev. Who's Shuka Bhagwan? The son of Vyasa. Vyasa, Maharshi Vyasa's son is Shuka Bhagwan. So he's the best person to narrate the Bhagavatam story. So you should definitely go to him and learn and hear the Bhagavatam. And Parikshit, at that time, he doesn't waste any time. Immediately, he gets up and he sets his army to locate where Shuka Bhagwan is. And the army immediately sets off, locates Shukadev. Says those days there was no GPS. They had to physically go and find out. So the army locates Shuka Bhagwan, and once he is located, Parikshit immediately runs off and finds Shuka Bhagwan, falls at his feet and says, can you please teach me the Bhagavatam? Can you please tell me the Bhagavatam story? I just have 7 days to live. And Shukadev says, okay, sure. And then the Bhagavatam story starts. Yeah. And this news that Bhagavatam is going to happen in the forest, it spreads like wildfire. You know how fire spreads in the forest? So this news about the Bhagavatam going to be given in the forest, it spreads all across. And all the rishis and all the munis and the rishis and the saints from all across the country, they immediately gathered and in the forest to hear firsthand about the Bhagavatam. For Bhagavatam, you are not invited at all. In the original Bhagavatam also nobody was invited. Just the word of mouth that Bhagavatam is going to happen immediately is enough for everybody to come and sit here. Yeah. So they came immediately all the way from all parts of the country, immediately congregated. So they used to have the yogic power, so they could immediately come, right? So they all congregated in the forest to hear about the Bhagavatam. Now, why did they all come? Why did the rishis come to hear this story? Because the story is not just about the divine. The story is just not about God. The story itself is God. The story itself is God. The story itself is divine. So in the next 5 days, including today, whatever sounds you're going to hear and whatever words come out of this mouth, God is going to pour into you. Blessed are those who today have the ears to hear this story and the mouth that can speak it. And this blessing you may not understand right now. You may not understand it today. But in the next few days, I am sure you are going to understand what a blessing this story is. Because this story is not just an ordinary story. It is not just an ordinary story that we hear here and there on YouTube or anywhere. The story is God. The story is divinity itself. Yeah. So I heard this Bhagavatam for the first time many years ago in 2013 from a very dear teacher of mine. Her name was Raj Lakshmi Ratan. We used to call her Rajima. And when I heard this story for the first time, I didn't get much of it, to be honest. And but never in my life had I ever thought that I would be sitting in front of so many people and sharing the same Bhagavata Katha, the same Bhagavatam story in front of so many people. Never, ever it came to my mind until last year when I decided to take it up, and here I am sitting and talking about the Bhagavatam. Unbelievable. I could never even think of it, never believe it. It is still unbelievable for me right now, sitting and talking about the Bhagavatam. Yeah. And that is why I take it up again and again and again and again. As I said, the blessing you would understand when you come for the stories all these 5 days. Yeah. So the poet in Vyasa, through the mouth of Shuka Bhagwan, is now going to paint the background picture. He doesn't immediately jump to Krishna. He doesn't immediately jump to all the avatars to Krishna's avatar. Now, avatar has a meaning. You know what is an avatar? You and I, when we have to come to this planet, when we have to take birth on this planet, we come to this planet to settle a particular karma account. Yeah. So we have been accumulating all these karmas throughout our lifetimes, the previous lifetimes. And in this lifetime, we take birth to clean those accounts. But what happens? We completely forget about it. Yeah. All those knowledge is completely forgotten. Yeah. And in this lifetime, we keep on accumulating fresh accounts, fresh karma. And what happens? We have to come back again in the next birth to wash off all those karmas. And this cycle continues. It goes on and on and on. But the Lord doesn't have any karma. The Supreme Consciousness, the Lord, doesn't have any karma. His karma account is nil, no debit, no credit. So when he decides to come on this planet, that is called an avatar. When he decides to take on a form, it could be anything. That is called an avatara. Yeah. Whenever the screams from mankind, they rise up, and whenever there is so much of corruption in the country, whenever there is so much of corruption in the world, unrighteousness in the world, when the moral values in this whole world are falling, degrading, when this entire environment is going to get destroyed by mankind, and whenever man calls for help, that is the time when the Lord decides to take birth on this planet. And that is called an avatara. Yeah. Those special screams, when those special screams come from mankind, you know what a special scream is? It comes from inside. Yeah. To save, you know, when you say, oh Bhagwan, mujhe bachao. जब ऐसे परिस्थिति में पड़ जाते हैं, when we are into such a situation when we cannot help, we become helpless, we call out to God. Yeah. When the whole world starts calling out to God, that is the time when the Lord decides to take birth. And that is an avatara. Yeah. So the poet doesn't immediately come to Krishna's avatar. So he paints the background picture. So this absolute consciousness, the Brahman, or God, the absolute consciousness, if an artist were to represent it, if the artist were to draw it, he would represent this infinite consciousness as a blue figure, a blue male figure. Probably the artist was a male artist, that's why. Yeah. That is why he drew this infinite consciousness as a blue male figure, the most handsome, with 6-pack or 8-pack abs. And you know what is men's favorite posture? What do we like to do best? And every time we are doing this, we are always best posture, Shavasana. Right? Everything that we do, we like to do it lying down, Ananta Shayana. We like to watch TV lying down. We like to eat lying down. We want to do everything lying down. Yeah, all the men here would agree. All the ladies would also agree, right? Am I right? Yeah, Ananta Shayana. So this male blue figure is lying down. Yeah, and lying down on what? On a bed. A bed of what? Snakes. Yeah. So he's lying down on a bed of snakes. Yeah. Now this snake is not just one snake. It has 1,000 heads, a 1,000-headed snake. Now the poet here was a little more intelligent. He had a little more buddhi. Yeah. So he knew that the biggest problem in human beings is the ego. It is the ego which creates all the problems, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Positive, negative, both types of ego creates all the problems in life. So how will the Lord handle the ego? Yeah. How will the supreme consciousness, God, how will God handle the ego? He will make it his bed of snakes. And this snake has 1,000 heads. Ego has so many forms. Ego has thousands and thousands of forms. Yeah. So he is lying on a bed of snakes. Yeah. And now the poet starts painting the beginning of creation. How does this entire universe come up? How does this entire Srishti, this entire creation, universe start coming? So he says, the poet paints that from the core of the being, core of this being, core of the Lord's being, which is depicted as the navel, the Nabhi, comes out a lotus stalk. And this stalk grows and grows and grows. Now, this is a myth. Remember the story? The great-great-great-grandmother, the great-great-great-great-great-grandmother. The story is, when she was in school, she had a school project and the teacher scolded her, and there she made this cloth and so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So this is the myth. Now understand the myth here. Now we are going with the myth. Yeah. So from the core of the being, from the navel, depicted as the navel of the Lord, comes out a lotus stalk. And it grows and grows and grows. Now the Lord, through the work of Maya, enters that lotus stalk. Remember the myth here. Yeah, we are going with the myth now. Through the work of Maya, the Lord enters the lotus stalk and he establishes himself at the end of that lotus stalk. He manifests himself as another being called Brahma. Yeah. He manifests himself at the end of the stalk as Brahma, who's the creator. Now, when Brahma was created, he did not know that his job was to create. What is the job of Brahma? To create, right? To come up with new things. Yeah. Vishnu energy means maintenance. Those who have done the Art of Living Happiness program, you would know, right? Vishnu energy is maintenance. Shiva is all destruction and transformation. Yeah. And the Brahma energy means creation. So when Brahma was formed, when Brahma came up, he did not know that his job was to create. Till the time the Lord comes and tells Brahma, now create. And it is at that time when Brahma starts creating this entire universe. Now in the beginning, Brahma creates 4 sons. He makes 4 sons out of himself. What are the names? See, you don't have to remember the names, okay? Some names, don't worry. 4 sons. He creates Sanaka, Sananda, Sanat Kumara and Sanatana. So he tells these 4 sons, now you go out into the world and populate this world. You produce more children and populate. Now what these guys do, these 4 children, they completely forget about their task. They sit in meditation and forget everything about it. And this entire project is an utter failure. And Brahma gets so angry with his son. He says, I told you to go and populate and you're sitting in meditation. Yeah. And then the next part of this entire story is given beautifully in the book. You know, so all of you can buy this book. It's on Srimad Bhagavatam. It's by Kamala Subramaniam. I'll give you the name later on. So I would like to read this part of the story from the book, just a small part. So it is best explained from the book because there are some parts in the story where I have to refer to the book because it gives you the truest essence. Yeah. And then after these 4 sons were born, says, out of the mind of Brahma were born the 4 rishis, Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara. When they were born, Brahma said, take up the work of creation and multiply. The 4 rishis were bent on attaining liberation at the feet of the Lord, and they refused to take up this work of creation. And Brahma was very angry with these 4 boys. But he controlled his anger. And though his reason held it in check, his anger took up a form and emerged out of his forehead. It was a child, reddish blue in color, and he began to cry as soon as he was born. Please give me a name and a place where I can stay, said the newborn child. And Brahma said, do not cry. Since you cried the moment you were born, I will call you Rudra. Yeah. You know, we all do Rudra Puja, right? Many of us have attended. All those who have done the Art of Living program, you have attended or otherwise, you have attended the Rudra Pujas, where Guruji sends a special person, a Swamiji or a person who's trained in it, to perform Rudra Puja, right? Now, what is this reddish hue and reddish blue child? Now, this you have to think. This is your homework. Why is the child reddish blue in color? Is your homework. You have to think about it. Yeah? Everything if I say, then some homework for you also. Yeah? And then the heart, the senses, the 5 senses, life, the sky, air, fire, water, earth, all the 5 elements, the sun, moon, and tapas or penance. These are the places assigned to you, he tells Rudra. You can go now and produce many in your image. Brahma then created 10 sons out of his body. These were, what are the names? See, you don't need to remember the names, okay? Just for the sake of it. These were Atri, Angiras, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Bhrigu, Daksha, Marichi, Vasishtha, and Narada. Dharma and Adharma were also born of Brahma. Now notice this. Dharma and Adharma, righteousness and unrighteousness, were also formed out of Brahma. We are going to deal with a lot of Dharma and Adharma in this entire series. And the very, very core, the very root of Art of Living is to handle both, skillfully handling both Dharma and Adharma. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. Out of his heart was born desire, and out of his brows was born anger. His shadow took a form, and his son was named Kardama. From his mind and body was created this entire world. Out of his 4 faces, Brahma has 4 faces, right? Out of his 4 faces were born the 4 Vedas. Brahma then divided his body into 2. One was a male and one was a female. They were called Swayambhu Manu, and the female counterpart was called Shatarupa. These 2 produced 5 children. 3 were daughters, Akuti, Prasuti, and Devahuti. The sons were called Priyavrata and Uttanapada. Akuti was married to a rishi called Ruchi, Devahuti to Kardama, Prasuti to Daksha, and the children of these with their descendants have populated the whole world. Yeah, this is the story of our creation. How this entire universe came into being and the first descendants on this entire universe. Now, again, you have to go with the myth. Remember the story of the great grandmother? So this is a myth. Okay? Are you all getting it? So now he comes to all the other avatars of Vishnu. Now this is not chronological. Yeah, the poet has his own license to choose the avatars. It is not chronological in nature. Yeah. Now what happens one day? Okay, before that, if you go to where Vishnu lives, where the Lord lives, where Lord Narayana lives, we call that blue figure Narayana. Yeah, we'll refer to him as Narayana in this entire series. Now, if you look at the picture of Narayana lying down on the bed of snake on Adishesha, you would see that his head is resting on the lap of someone. You know who it is? His head is resting on the lap of someone. Yes, Lakshmi. We call her Shri Devi. Lakshmi. What is Lakshmi? Abundance. You know, abundance doesn't mean all your material abundance. You know, you can say, I have a lot of money. Yeah, I have crores of rupees in my bank account. But you can show utter poverty when you do not donate anything. Yeah. So poverty here is the poverty of the mind, and it is not the material poverty that I'm talking about. Abundance in the mind, abundance in the heart. Yeah. You might go to a party and before that you have so many clothes to wear, but before the party you say, I have no clothes to wear. No clothes matching my, party theme. Utter poverty we carry in the mind. Right? So this is abundance in the heart, abundance in the mind is Lakshmi. Later on, we are going to learn about the 8 types of Lakshmi later on in this chapter, in this series. So, Narayana's head is resting on the lap of Shri Devi or Lakshmi. And at the feet, there is another person pressing his feet. The second wife of Narayana. How many of you know this? He has 2 wives. Who is the second wife? Bhudevi. Shri Devi and Bhudevi. Who's Bhudevi? The earth. Our entire earth is the wife of the Lord. So when you are throwing plastic on the planet, everywhere on the fields, in the water bodies, when you are littering the streets, when you are throwing all sorts of chemicals in the fields, in the paddy fields, and creating pollution, what are you doing? You are destroying the wife of the Lord. Yeah? If this doesn't make you aware, then what else will? Right? Yeah? So, the Lord has 2 wives, Shri Devi and Bhudevi. And the place where he resides is called Vaikuntha. What is Kuntha? Kuntha means lack. L-A-C-K, lack. Yeah? Kuntha means lack. Vaikuntha means where there is no lack. Imagine where Lakshmi herself is there. Can there be any lack? No. So, place where Narayana stays is called Vaikuntha. Yeah. We also have Vaikuntha Ekadashi. Right? At the gate of Vaikuntha, there are 2 guards. Vishnu has 2 guards. Yeah. These are the, he has a chain. Like the Ganga chain that we have. And there are these 2 guards there, and their names are Jaya and Vijaya. Jaya means victory and Vijaya means Mahavictory. How else can you say Vijaya? Great victory. Victory and great victory. Yeah, Jaya Vijaya. At the gate of the Lord, there can only be victory. This is what it symbolizes. When you are at the feet of the Lord, when you are at the gate of the Lord, there is only victory. So this Jaya and Vijaya, they have been instructed that nobody should enter the room of the Lord, of Narayana. So one day what happens, these four sons of Brahma, who are they? Sanaka, Sananda, Sanat Kumara and Sanatana. They come to see Narayana. And when they come at the gate, these two guards, they stop them, say, no, you can't enter. Do you have an appointment? If not, you have to take an appointment and come. So they say, no, you don't know who we are. We are the sons of Brahma. And these two guards, they said, no, doesn't matter who you are. We won't let you enter. This is our strict, this is the advice that we have been given, not to let anybody in. And out of anger, these four sons, what they do, they curse these two guards. They say that you will be born as human beings for the next 3 lifetimes on earth. The worst curse that can ever come to you. You will be born as human, not as cockroach, not as lizard, not as a horse, not as an elephant, but as human beings on this planet, on earth, for 3 times, not even once. And these two fellows, they are like, no, please forgive us, don't do this. We can be born as anything but not human beings. Because none of the other animals, they worry, none of them get depressed. Only human beings do, because they apply so much of their intellect, no? Yeah. So and in the midst of all this commotion, who comes out? Vishnu comes out. He hears all the noise, and Vishnu, Narayana, comes out and says, hey, what's the matter? And these two gods say that, we have been cursed by these 4 sons of Brahma. Can you please help us? Can you please take the curse of us? You are the Lord. And then Vishnu says, once such great saints have given a curse, have said something, even I cannot take it back. So do you see the power of words of the rishis? Yeah. When the rishis say something, not even the Lord can take it back. So then he says that, okay, fine, I can't take the curse back, but I can do something for you. Since you have been my faithful servants, since you have been here for so long and you have served me with all the love, you will be born 3 times on this planet. Okay. But each time you are born, I am going to personally go there and kill you so that you attain liberation. So each time you are born, I am going to personally come there and kill you. And then you will be liberated. Yeah. So the first of these lifetimes, they come to earth as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashyapu, sons born to Diti and Kashyapa Muni. Yeah. So they are born as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashyapu. Hiranya means what? Hiranya means gold. Yeah. Hiranyaksha. Aksha means eyes and Hiranya means gold. So means golden eyes. Does it mean golden eyes? No. Yeah. Means whatever you see, you think that it is gold. Right? You see this mobile phone and you think, अच्छा इसको बेच देंगे तो कितना पैसा मिलेगा? Yeah. You see anything and what comes to your mind is money. Yeah. You see whatever around, okay, इसको बेचेंगे तो कितना पैसा मिलेगा? That is Hiranyaksha, where you're always equating everything with gold. And nowadays we don't trade things with gold. We can say rupees aksha. Rupees aksha. Those who are from India, yeah. Others, you can take your own currency. Maybe dollar aksha. Dollar aksha. Yeah. Wherever, whatever you see money. Yeah. Now, Hiranyaksha became the ruler of this whole world, of this whole universe, of this whole planet. And now, if somebody sees everything as gold, what will he do? See, those days, the earth did not have so much of pollution. It was fully populated with trees. Nowadays, we have to search for trees. Those days, it was all forests, all trees, all greenery everywhere. Yeah. So what would Hiranyaksha do? Wherever he would see trees, what would come to his mind? He would think, let's chop it off and sell off the wood, right? Hiranyaksha is seeing everything gold, right? So he destroys this entire planet. He chops off all the trees, chops off all the greenery and sells it. Yeah. And when all the vegetation on this planet is gone, what will happen? There will be floods, right? There will be nothing to stop the flood, isn't it? So there was this huge flood, this great deluge, this great flood, and this entire earth was submerged in that flood. Yeah. And all these other beings, they were praying to the Lord to come and save them. And that is where Narayana takes his avatar, the Adi Varaha avatar. Have you heard of it? The Adi Varaha avatar. This is not the first avatar, but this is the first avatar which comes in the chronological order in the Bhagavatam. So he comes as a wild boar. Narayana takes birth as a wild boar. Now you have to understand that the characteristic of God is that he is thoroughly, highly shameless. Yeah. God is totally shameless. What does shameless mean? Shameless means egoless. No ego. You and I, if we have to come as a cockroach, what? You and I, if we have to come as a lizard, we'll run away, right? But God, Narayana, doesn't have any ego. He can come as a boar, he can come as a lizard, he can come as a fish, he can come as a peacock, he can come as an elephant, he can take any form, completely egoless, shameless. Yeah, this you need to know. Yeah, so Narayana comes as a wild boar, Adi Varaha avatar, kills Hiranyaksha, and then saves earth from drowning. It is submerged in the water. You must have seen the picture where the Adi Varaha takes the earth on his beak. He has a beak. He takes the earth on his beak and comes out. Yeah, that is how this earth is saved. And now this Hiranyaksha had a brother. Remember Hiranyakashipu? I said about him. Hiranyakashipu. Now Hiranyakashipu had sworn vengeance against Mahavishnu, against Vishnu. Why? Because Vishnu has killed his brother, elder brother. Yeah. So he had sworn vengeance. He wanted to defeat Vishnu at any cost. But he was still small. He did not have so much of power. He was still a kid. Yeah. So he had to still work on his powers. He was not brave enough. He was not prepared enough to face Vishnu at that time. So he left and he was going everywhere. He went to Russia, he went to Moscow, he went to America, he went to Europe, and all these places he went around collecting missiles, collecting submarines and all of that. Yeah. So he's preparing himself to fight Vishnu. So we leave him there. So he's still not yet mature enough to face Vishnu, face Narayana. So he's busy preparing himself for the war against Vishnu. So we leave him there, okay, whatever he's doing. And we move on to the next story till the time he grows up. Yeah. So the next story in the Bhagavatam is that of Kardama. Now, who was Kardama? When I was reading from the book, Kardama is the shadow of Brahma. What does the shadow of Brahma mean? Exactly like Brahma, just like Brahma. Shadow of Brahma. He was born to, again, two very, very, the first two descendants, yeah, Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa, born to Swayambhu Manu. Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa were the first, the male counterpart and the female counterpart, and Kardama was born of Brahma. Yeah. Now, this rishi called Kardama, he had decided to spend his entire lifetime doing tapas. Tapas means penance. He wanted to do his meditation, do his pujas, do his havans, and he was not interested in anything else. He was like, my work is my life. My computer is my life. There is nothing else. Yeah. And there was this lady called Devahuti. Yeah. And she was born to Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa. Now, Devahuti had somewhere known about this saint called Kardama. And in her mind itself, she had fallen in love with Kardama. Now, these things don't happen nowadays because you have easy access to Facebook and Twitter and you can easily stalk that person. Those days, you did not have social media to stalk the person. So she had somewhere heard about Kardama and she had fallen in love. No, love at first thought. Not love at first sight, love at first thought. Yeah. And she was hell-bent on getting married to Kardama. She told her parents, if I have to marry, I will marry only Kardama, nobody else. So you better not look out for other men. Those days, the parents would, take the word of the lady. Those days, even Swayamvar used to be the ladies could choose the husband. It was not the other way around. The women could choose the husbands those days. So, see, Swayambhu, Manu and Shatarupa are the king, emperors and empress of the entire universe. But they decided, okay, our daughter is saying so. So let's go to Kardama and ask whether he wants to marry my daughter. Those days, even though you are a king, you're the king of the universe, but they would still go and fall at the feet of a great rishi. That was the reverence that the rishis had those days. That was the respect that all the gurus and the rishis they demanded, that they commanded those days. Yeah. So Shatarupa and Swayambhu Manu along with Devahuti goes to Kardama and says, great rishi, my daughter wants to get married to you. Now, Kardama, when he was younger and he was in his penance, he was in his meditation, Narayana had appeared in front of him. And remember, this is the myth, yeah? So Narayana had appeared in front of him and Narayana said that, I am very pleased with you. You have been doing your penance, doing your meditation every day with so much of diligence. So I am very pleased with you. So you ask me whatever boon you want to ask and I will grant it to you. Now Kardama said, I have nothing to ask for. Anyway, he had left everything. He is a saint. He is a sannyasi. I have nothing to ask for. So the Lord said, no, you have to ask. Imagine, the Lord comes and says, no, you ask. And again, this person saying, no, I don't want anything. So the Lord says, okay, if you don't want anything, I want to give you something from my side. I want to be born as your son. And now Kardama doesn't pay much interest to whatever Narayana says. And before he could say anything, Narayana vanishes. So Kardama doesn't, register so much all of it. And then this day comes where Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa comes with Devahuti to get her married off. Now Kardama says, look, I have devoted my entire life to pujas, for my havans, for my meditation, for my tapas. Don't tell me after a few days that I am not taking care of your wife. Yeah. And Devahuti, what happens when you are blindly in love? ठीक है चलो देखेंगे बाद में या शादी तो कर लेते हैं देखेंगे बाद में yeah. And she says, don't worry my lord, I will never disturb you. I will never even come in front of you. I will hide myself. I will vanish into the cupboard. I will never even disturb you. Please marry me. And at that time Kardama says, okay, I will marry you. And therefore these two get married off. Kardama and Devahuti are married and Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa leaves the daughter and goes off. And many years pass, and as Kardama had said, Kardama is in meditation. He doesn't even look at Devahuti, doesn't even care about her. And Devahuti, as she said, she prepares the puja table, everything she does for Kardama. And many years pass. And then, it strikes Devahuti. When will my husband look at me? When will he treat me as his wife? Finally, when will he treat me as his wife? And she's sitting there. She's become a little older. When you are depressed, you become a little older. You look a little old. And one day, Kardama opens his eyes. After years of, hundreds of years of meditation, he opens his eyes and he sees Devahuti sitting in front of him. And he sees that Devahuti has become all old, wrinkles on her face. He says, Devahuti, what's the matter? You look so sick. You look so old. What happened? And then, Devahuti, with all that, she just looks down and he says, my lord, I want a child. I want a child. Now, Kardama is a sannyasi. Now, what does he do? He says, okay. Suddenly, he remembers that boon of Narayana. Narayana had said that I want to be born as your son, right? And he suddenly remembers it and he says, now, probably Narayana wants to come and therefore I will fulfill this. So Kardama, out of his own siddhis, all the saints, those who are steeped in yoga, all the great yogis, they have a lot of siddhis. Now, what are siddhis? These are certain abilities that you get when you are on this spiritual path. All of you must have noticed it. If you have been on this spiritual path, somebody, would have started speaking if they didn't know how to speak well. Somebody started singing well. They had never sung in their life. I know so many people. Yeah. So all these siddhis, they come to you. It's called Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyas means that which is given to you. You don't deserve it, but you still get it. That is a siddhi. You know that you're not, you don't deserve it at all, but yet you get it. That is Shreyas. And when you really put some effort to get something and then you get it, that is Preyas. Real joy is in getting something which you have never even asked for. Even before you have asked for it, it has been given to you. Shreyas. These are siddhis. Yeah. If you're on the path of yoga, these siddhis come to you and they stay with you. But if you misuse them, they will leave you. Yeah. So out of his siddhis, Kardama created two maidens. Yeah. Two ladies, and he asked these two ladies to escort Devahuti to Saraswati river, where she would go and take a bath. So these two maidens took Devahuti to Saraswati river and she took a dip in the river. The moment she took a dip in the river and came out, what happened? She again got back her youth. All that wrinkles, those white hairs, all those were gone. And she again became that youthful Devahuti which Kardama had got married to. And these two maidens dressed her up with all the jewels, all the gold and everything. And they brought her to Kardama. And in the meantime, Kardama, out of his own powers, own siddhis, he had created an entire satellite world for Devahuti. Entire satellite world, an entire universe for Devahuti, for their honeymoon. And Kardama and Devahuti, they set off for their honeymoon to go for a tour of this entire satellite world, the entire universe. So Kardama and Devahuti, for their honeymoon, they go for the tour of this whole world, yeah, whole universe. Yeah. So next time, all the ladies, go for Kardama. All the ladies go for a Kardama. Yeah. So it is said that for many years, they took a tour of this entire satellite world, and Kardama gave her a beautiful time. Beautiful time. And then they came back after many years, and Devahuti was pregnant, and soon she gave birth to a child, gave birth to a son. You know what is the name of the son? Anybody knows? You can type in the chat. Okay, his name was Kapil Muni. Yeah, Kapila. Yes, very good. Kapil Muni. Yeah. Now, as soon as the son was born, now Kardama knew that his work on this planet was done. Yeah. He had to give birth, he had to make way for the Lord to come to this planet. He had done his work, and now his task is over. And then he told his wife that now I have done, you wanted a child, I've given you a child. Now I will take up sannyas and leave. I will leave for the forest. And at that time, Devahuti says, no, my Lord, I know that by all these years of meditation, all these years of penance, you have realized the highest truth. So I want you, before you go, I want you to teach me this knowledge. Teach me the truth. Teach me this highest knowledge, the Atma Gyan, the Brahma Gyan. Now at this time, Kardama says, you know, all these years, when I was with you, you only wanted physical relationship with me. I was there with you all these years. Never did you even utter the desire to know the Brahma Gyan. And now when I'm leaving, now you are asking me. So I will not be able to give you. When our son grows up, he is going to give you the knowledge. Yeah. And saying this, he sets off for the forest. And now this child, Kapila, his name was Kapila, he grows up, and as it was said, you know, that is why it is said that when a knowledgeable person, when a jnani, when a rishi or a guru is there, you should always take the knowledge at the right time. Otherwise, you miss your chance and you have to wait for, God knows, many years or many lifetimes even, yeah, to get the knowledge. So all of you are very lucky that you have received the knowledge in this lifetime. At least you have grabbed it in this lifetime. Yeah. So after a while, after a few years, this child grows up, and as was stated by Kardama, he gives the knowledge to his mother. The entire Sankhya philosophy was recorded for the first time by Kapila, which much later, Krishna gives to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, the Sankhya philosophy, the Sankhya Gita. Yeah, Sankhya Yoga. First time recorded between Kapila and Devahuti, which Kapila gives to Devahuti. So the Brahma Gyan is given, and after listening to this, Devahuti, you know, they had the power to leave their own body with the help of yoga. Yeah. So Devahuti leaves the body, and Kapila starts moving northwest. He starts walking northwest of India. So he goes all the way towards the north, crossing, you know, those days, that the continents were not, you know, separate. Those days, it was one landmass. I'm talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. It was one landmass called Pangaea. Yeah, we all read it in geography. So one landmass, and this and Kapila started walking northwest, and it is said that he walked for many years till the time he reached one forest. He reached a forest, and there in that forest he sat under a tree and he started meditating. It is said that Kapil Muni is still there meditating in that forest. And you know the Sanskrit word for forest is what? Anybody any idea? Sanskrit word for forest? It's called Aranya. Yeah. And because Kapil Muni was meditating there, it was called Kapilaranya. Yeah, Kapilaranya, which many thousands of years later came to be known as California. The present day California, this Kapilaranya. And it is said that Kapil Muni is still there sitting and meditating in California. Now there is a story also regarding this. So there was king called Sagara. I'll just tell you the story in short. So there was a king called Sagara, and Sagara had 60,000 sons. 60,000. He had cloned them. Imagine those days even cloning was possible. They knew the art of cloning. Nowadays our scientists do it in the labs. Those days, even the kings, those days this technology was still prevalent, still there. So the king had cloned his sons into 60,000 sons. Why? Because, just to save the cost of the army. Only sons will act as army, you don't have to pay them. So Sagara wanted to conquer the whole country, the whole world. So he had decided to do a Ashwamedha sacrifice. You know what is an Ashwamedha sacrifice? You leave a horse, and wherever the horse goes, the king of that kingdom either has to, submit, either has to say, I bow down to you, or he has to fight the army, right? If he fights the army and he loses, the entire kingdom is the king's. Yeah. And if he bows down, if he says, okay, I surrender, then anyway, the kingdom belongs to him. Yeah. So this is the Ashwamedha sacrifice. So Sagara had conducted an Ashwamedha sacrifice, and this horse would go to different kingdoms, and he was conquering one kingdom after the other. And then what happened? Every day at night, see, the horse would just go in the morning. At night, the horse would rest, and all the army men would also rest. So one day, these army men had tied the horse to a tree and fallen asleep. And the next day, when they woke up, they saw that the horse had vanished. There was no horse. And these army men, they started searching the whole country for the horse, and they could not find the horse. You know what had happened? Indra is the Deva, is the king of all the Devtas. And he is very jealous of people who get very powerful. Yeah, because he wants all the power. Others get powerful, then Indra gets very jealous. Yeah, this is the story. So Indra saw that Sagara is going to become very powerful if he conquers all the lands. So he had stolen this horse and took it to the other side of the world and hid it. So these army men, they started digging a hole through the, they were in the middle of India, and they started digging a hole in the ground. And they dug the hole so deep, it extended to the other side of the earth. So if this is the earth, they start digging from here and they reach the other side of the earth. Yeah. Now, if you look at your map and if you see India, and if you start digging a hole from the middle of India, if you start digging a hole and if there's a line, the other side, the bang opposite side will be California. Yeah, it will be California, just the bang opposite side of the earth. So India, you dig a hole and you go straight and you reach California on this side. Yeah. So these army men, they dug this hole and went to the other side of the earth. And then they were searching here and there, and they found a horse meadow where all the horses graze. Yeah. And as they were searching, they found a forest in that horse meadow. And in that forest, they saw this horse, this particular horse, which was lost. It was grazing in the field. And in front of that horse, there was a man sitting in meditation. And these 60,000 army men, they thought that, probably this is the man who had stolen the horse. Yeah. And they got so angry with this man, and they started, 60,000 of them, they started charging towards that. Who was that person? Kapil Muni. He was meditating there. Yeah. They started charging towards Kapil Muni. Yeah. And with that commotion, what happened? Kapil Muni opened his eye. He had been meditating for years, hundreds of years. And with that commotion, Kapil Muni opened his eyes, and with the power of that meditation, power of sadhana, which he had been doing for 100 years, he opened his eyes, and with that power, all the 60,000 men, they got burnt and turned into ashes, into a heap of ashes. Yeah. So if you go to California, there is a forest called the Sequoia forest. You can search it on YouTube. Yeah, Sequoia forest. So Sequoia forest has these beautiful trees, very meditative. If you go there, you get into meditation. I've heard so from people who have visited there. And in that Sequoia forest, there is also a mountain called Ash Mountain. Yeah. And Kapil Muni is still believed to be present there and meditating. So what are the chances that, there is a horse meadow? In Sequoia forest, there's a horse meadow. And then there is an ash mountain. Yeah. So all these are, they all come together. If you bring all the pieces together, then the entire story comes true. Yeah. Canada is 9 hours away from India. And there is a place called Nova Scotia in Canada. Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia means Nova Scotia, which one kosha is 1 hour. Nova Scotia means 9 hours. So Canada is 9 hours away from India. Yeah. So the scientists those days, they knew everything. How long does it take for a person to go from India to Canada also? Yeah. So this is the story of Kapil Muni, where he gave the Kapila's Gita. So that he gave it to his mother, Devahuti. Now every day I have a particular place where I have to stop. Yeah. So I come to the last story of today. Very interesting story, very nice story. Yeah. So story of Dhruva. So one day what happened? King Uttanapada. There was a king called Uttanapada. Don't have to remember the names. Okay. He had 2 wives, Suniti and Surichi. Those days kings were allowed to have more than 1 wife. Yeah. Those days, not now. Huh? Those days it was, yeah. Uttanapada was the son of Manu and, somebody wrote, Manu and again another son of Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa. Uttanapada. And the eldest son, the son of Suniti, was Dhruva. Yeah. And the other son was Uttama. Now, Uttanapada loved both his sons very much. But the other wife, Surichi, was very jealous of Dhruva. Why? Because she wanted her son to go to the throne. Now, Dhruva is the elder son. So, if you look at, whatever, the next person who has to come to the throne, then Dhruva is the rightful heir to the throne, right? And so she was very, very jealous of Dhruva. And she didn't let the king come in front of Dhruva, didn't let the king, play with the child. So she always separated Dhruva from the king. One day, King Uttanapada was playing with the other child on his lap. And Dhruva is a small boy, 4 years old. And he saw his father playing with his brother. And he also wanted to play with his father. So he comes running towards his father. He says, Papa, even you take me on your lap also. And as soon as the king was about to take Dhruva on his lap, this other lady, Surichi, she comes and she scolds this little boy. She says, you boy, this is not the place for you to play. Your father's lap is not the place for you to play. You go away. And this small boy, she keeps crying, and he goes to his mother and he says, Mom, they didn't let me play with my father. And he's crying. Now, Suniti, his mother, he knows what is wrong. Yeah, she knows what the problem is. But, she cannot say this to her child. So she says, don't worry, darling. You pray to God and ask God so that you can play with your father again. And he's a small boy. He says, okay, Mom, but which God should I pray to? Which God should I pray to? So Suniti says, you pray to Narayana. So Narayana, where is he? Where does he stay? So, oh, he's everywhere. He's everywhere. So where can I pray to him? So she says, you find a place which is quiet and nobody to disturb you. So you sit there and you pray to Lord Narayana. You meditate on Narayana. So this boy immediately he leaves his house. In the house you cannot get so much of peace, right? All the traffic and all those things. You get so much of noise. So he leaves the house and moves towards the forest. And he goes towards the forest. And forest is basically peaceful, right? Nobody is going to disturb him in the forest. Now, when somebody is going in search of the Lord, right? When somebody is going seeking for the Lord, and you really want to get it, there is a written rule by Narayana, written rule by the Lord. Whoever seeks him, he always sends a messenger or a guide or an angel to help. Yeah? Remember, those who have done the Art of Living Happiness program, somebody must have sent you here, right? Maybe somebody said, you go and do the program. Yeah? You go and meditate, learn it. They were all angels in your life. The Lord cannot come himself in front of you. So he sends an angel so that you come on this path. You get the right path. So all those people who pushed you to the happiness program or the advanced course, they were all your angels at that time. Yeah? Right? So who comes here? The great Narada. All the angels, all the gods, they send Narada. Narayana, that guy. He comes and says, hey little boy, where are you going? So he said, oh, I'm going to the forest. So why are you going to the forest? He says, oh, I'm going to pray to Narayana. Narayana, how are you going to pray to him? He says, I don't know, I'm just going to go and pray. He says, oh, I'm going to give you a shortcut. You can pray to Narayana, but I'm going to give you a shortcut. So he said, what shortcut? He said, there's a mantra. He says, mantra? What mantra? And there Narada gives a shortcut to attain Narayana. You know what that mantra was? Anybody? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yeah. So he gives this mantra to Dhruva and he vanishes. So Dhruva, he quickly goes and finds a nice tree and he sits below the tree and he says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva, and he starts off. Yeah. He starts off reciting this mantra, and after some time, after a few hours, constantly reciting, Narayana doesn't come, and he's saying this, fast, with a high pitch, and so his throat chokes. So he goes to the river, takes some water, and he comes back again. He starts chanting. Yeah? Again, he gets tired, he gets hungry, and again he goes and picks some food, some fruits, and he eats. Again he starts off. Now he sees that aise to nahi chalega. Bar he's getting tired. Yeah. So he decides to do it in a different way. Yeah. He says, okay, for the next few days till I get to meet Narayana, I am not going to eat. I am not going to eat. So this is tapas, penance. Yeah. And I'm going to lower my voice of chanting. Yeah. So see, we are all Dhruvas, right? So what we are going to do now is again chant this, but like Dhruva used to do. So Dhruva had put his pitch a little down. Yeah? If this is your normal tone, then we are going to lower our voice. Okay. So we are going to lower the voice and chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 3 times. Right? You can chant with me. A little below the tone. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Slower. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Dhruva keeps on chanting and chanting, and still the Lord doesn't come. He decides to do more penance. He decides to stop drinking water as well. Till the time Narayana comes, he says, I will not drink. And he's just a 5-year-old child. And he goes on chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Days pass on and still Narayana doesn't come. And then he decides to even stop chanting through his mouth. He decides to chant in his mind, because in that way, he's going to save energy, right? And in this way, he said that I'm going to even stop breathing. He had stopped drinking and eating. He said, I'm even going to stop breathing. Yeah. So he decides to chant in his head, right? So we'll do the same. We'll chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya in our mind 3 times without uttering a word. Yeah. Let's start. And days passed and Dhruva kept on chanting the names of the Lord, and still the Lord did not appear. And now when such a big devotee of the Lord stops breathing, what happens? The entire air around, it gets choked. The atmosphere, the air around gets choked. And when the air stops flowing, what happens? All the organisms, all the birds, the animals, they also start choking because there's no air. And at that time, again, the Devtas, they get very worried. He said, and they immediately go to Narayana. They say, hey, you look at this boy. He's chanting your name and you must go to him. Otherwise, everybody is dying. You should immediately go to him. And Narayana says, okay. And he sits on his Vahan. What is his Vahan? Garuda. Yeah, all of you know Garuda. Yeah. So he sits on Garuda and comes to this earth and comes in front of Dhruva. And Dhruva is in his own meditation. For days he has been meditating, doing tapas, penance. Yeah. And then Narayana comes. When Narayana comes, Dhruva doesn't realize. So what does Narayana do? She does, just to make him realize that I've come. And then finally, Dhruva opens his eyes and he sees the Lord in front of him. Just imagine, you are meditating and you open your eyes and you see him in front of you. Yeah. Just imagine what would happen. Yeah? So he sees the Lord in front of him and he immediately bows down, touches his feet. And Narayana says, Dhruva, I am really impressed with you. But why did you do so much of penance? There must be something that you're looking for. What do you want? What do you need? What do you want from me? Now Dhruva at that time, he said that, when I started meditating, started chanting, started doing the tapas, at that time, I wanted to play on my father's lap. But now, I don't want anything because I have realized the highest. I don't want anything. I have you with me. I don't want anything else. So the Lord says, no, I want to give you something. You ask anything. So no, I have nothing to ask. I just want you. And then Narayana was so pleased with Dhruva. He said that when your father passes away, you will be the heir to the throne. I will put you on the throne. You will become the king. And since you are such a big and nice devotee of mine, such a devoted devotee, so I am going to give you the highest place in this universe. When you pass away, when you die, I'm going to give you the highest seat in this universe. You know what it is? The Dhruva star, the pole star, Dhruva Tara. Then I'm going to make you a star. When you pass away, I'm going to make you a star. And this star is going to show the way to millions of people who are about to come in this world. So when Dhruva dies, he becomes a star. So when Jesus Christ was born, all the 3 wise men, they followed the pole star to locate Jesus Christ. So even today on a clear night sky, the brightest object in the sky would be the Dhruva Tara, the pole star. Yeah. So this has a very nice message. This entire story has a beautiful message. You know, when you are really devoted, when you really want to know, it is in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, it is called Mumukshatva. That desire to know, the Lord, know God, know who you are. It's called Mumukshatva. And when that, that intense desire comes to you, that is the time when the Lord comes, when the Lord reveals himself. Yeah. So when you have that intense desire to meet the Master, to meet the Lord, that is the time when the Master reveals himself to you. And it happens every time. Yeah. So this is the story that we take back from Dhruva. To have that determination in spirituality. When you are determined, it will happen. Yeah. It will happen. Many times, those who have done the art of living, many times people say that, I've been writing mails to Guruji and Guruji doesn't reply. I've been trying to meet him. He doesn't meet. When you really have that strong, intense desire to meet the Master, to meet him, and when it is required for you, he will have no chance to come in front of you. Situations will be arranged so that he comes, so that you get to have your queries solved, your answers solved, questions solved. Yeah? So have that determination. Yeah? So this is I'm going to, I just want to share one last 2-minute story before so we also have a beautiful satsang today. Yeah, we are also going to do a beautiful satsang, and this satsang is going to be done by one of our Sumeru Sandhya singers. So don't go away. So for a few minutes, we'll do satsang every day. A few minutes, not much. Yeah, I know we have to go for dinner and all. So satsang, we just get into that bhakti. Yeah. Right? There was a story. It just reminds me, I want to share it now. Yeah, just a 2-minute story. Are you all bored? You want to listen a small story, 2-minute story? This comes later in the Bhagavatam, but I really want to share it now. Once when Krishna had the first formal wedding of Krishna. We'll come to Krishna's story later. Yeah. So Krishna had one formal wedding. So there was a princess in the Vidarbha region of India. And her name was Rukmini. And she was the sister of this person called Rukma. And Rukma was an enemy of Krishna. Now, like Devahuti, Rukmini had also thought of Krishna and she had fallen in love. Love at first thought. Yeah, she had completely fallen in love with Krishna and she wanted to marry only him. And she told her brother that, if you get me married to anyone else, I will give up my life. I will commit suicide. So death threats used to be there at that time as well. Yeah. And her brother was hell-bent on getting married off to Shishupala. Shishupal was again a friend of Rukma and again a common enemy of Krishna. Yeah. And then when she realized that her brother is going to get her married to Shishupal, she sends a secret letter to Krishna. Did you know this? She sends a secret letter to Krishna through someone. Now, what that letter contains is what we are interested in. Yeah. So that letter was basically addressed to Krishna to come and save her. Yeah. And what that letter starts off with is what we are concerned with. That letter starts off, normally when we write a love letter, those who have written a love letter, they would know. You just don't start by writing, hey, I love you. No, you don't say that, right? Yeah, those who are smiling, they have all written love letters before. Yeah, but nowadays we don't write love letters. That zamana is gone. Now it's all digitized. Yeah, no letters these days. So she starts by writing. This is how she starts, you know, the letter. She starts like this. She says, Shrutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara. She addresses Krishna. Shrutva means listen. Gunan means the one who has all the gunas, all the qualities. There's nothing that the person doesn't have. You know, when Krishna could sing, Krishna could dance, and Krishna could attract anyone, not even the animals he could attract. Yeah. Everyone would come to him. He had all the qualities. Yeah. Bhuvana Sundara means the one who is the most attractive, the most beautiful in this whole universe. Now you have the stotram called Madhurashtakam. There it says, you know, everything that Krishna does is so sweet. Adharam Madhuram. Yeah, you must have heard about it. Everything about Krishna is so beautiful. Bhuvana Sundara. Right? So this entire discourse is all about that Bhuvana Sundara. Yeah? So these 5 days we are just going to be with that Bhuvana Sundara. Now that process has already started. You are inside, you are on the boat now. Yeah? And this is going to get deeper and deeper and deeper with every passing day. Tomorrow we are going to look at a few other avatars. We are not going into Krishna directly, because to come to Krishna, to come to the heart, you need to let go of your ego. Right? Otherwise you will never get Krishna. You will never understand his life. Yeah? So that is why, again, tomorrow, you know, this is a process that happens, so that we come. Let's see if we can come to Krishna's story tomorrow itself. Yeah? Okay? So before we start the satsang today, we end here. Before we start the satsang, I would request everybody to be here for the next few minutes, say 15, let's say 15, 20 minutes. Yeah? And before that, we are going to chant the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya a few times. Okay? So let's all close our eyes. Aankhein band rakhe. And when you're chanting this, observe the body. Observe all the sensations in the body. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Jai Gurudev. So tomorrow the timing would be again 5:45, but from Tuesday till Thursday, we are going to shift it a little ahead. Okay, so we are going to start from 5:30. Yeah. So today, so chanting will start a little early from 5:20, and discourse will start from 5:30 from Tuesday 5:30 to 7:30, and then we'll have Guruji's Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji's live meditation, and then we are going to have the satsang. Yeah. But tomorrow we start at again 5:45 like today. Okay. So now I'm going to give the spotlight to Meenakshi Sharma. She's joining us from Delhi. So she's a Sumeru Sandhya singer, and I just love her satsangs. Yeah. So what we'll do is, see, these 5 days are all about bhakti. Yeah. It is all about going deeper within your own heart. Yeah. So just as if you are floating in bhakti. Yeah. As if you're floating in bhakti, we will listen to the satsang. Okay. You can all sing along with her. So I will shift the spotlight to Meenakshi. So Meenakshi is getting ready. So till the time she gets ready, you can keep the eyes closed. आंखें बंद रखिए. And those of us who know the Nadi Shodhan Pranayam, we'll do the Nadi Shodhan Pranayam. Those of us who don't know the Nadi Shodhan Pranayam, you can keep the left hand on your knees, on the left knee, Chin Mudra, index finger and middle finger of the right hand in between the eyebrows. We'll do just 3-4 rounds of Nadi Shodhan. Breathe in and exhale through the left nostril. Inhale through the left and exhale through the right. And keep breathing. Let's take 3-4 breaths in and let go. And you may open your eyes. So we have Meenakshi with us. Meenakshi is a Sumeru Sandhya singer, and she's also an Art of Living teacher. She also teaches with the Akash Institute. She is a fantastic singer. So I would give all the stage to Meenakshi for the satsang. Over to you.
Thank you, Advitya.
You're not audible, Meenakshi.
And I'm not audible?
No,
Hello?
not audible. Others can, okay, voice is there. Fine, fine, fine.
Yeah, hello. Yeah. Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. So thank you Adi for such a wonderful session. I've been hearing all the session and it was so beautifully you're narrating. Thank you so much. And without wasting our time, let us just move to satsang. Huh? So beautiful Krishna stories. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरं रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्. Do we have time, Adi? Can we sing one more song or just winding up? I think we have. नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. वासुदेवाय वासुदेवाय वासुदेवाय. ओ वासुदेवाय वासुदेवाय वासुदेवाय. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. कृष्णाय गोविन्द गोपाल नारायण. कृष्णाय गोविन्द गोपाल नारायण. ओ हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण. कृष्णाय गोविन्द गोपाल नारायण. ओ हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण. कृष्णाय गोविन्द गोपाल नारायण. ओ हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण. कृष्णाय गोविन्द गोपाल नारायण. ओ हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण. कृष्णाय गोविन्द गोपाल नारायण. हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण. कृष्णाय गोविन्द गोपाल नारायण. हरि नारायण हरि नारायण. That's it. जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल. जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल. ओ जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल. 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 हरि बोल. जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल. जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल. जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल. ओ जय जय राधा रमण हरि बोल. जय गुरुदेव.
You wanted to hear a little more also?
I thought everybody has to leave, so that is why I just
Everybody, you want a little more?
one. Acha, so one this Bollywood, this is Krishna. So is a one. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm reading the comments. So this is a Krishna bhajan, which the first time I sang in my competition, and I won that competition actually in my college youth festival. So here it goes. So it's very close to me. You must have heard it. गुरु गयो पढ़न रघुराई अल्पका विद्या बहुआई गुरु गयो पढ़न रघुराई हो पवन प्रभाते जग को जगाते खबरे भी करते हैं गुंजन पंख पसारे उड़े पखेरु सिंदूरी सिंदूरी आंगन मन बसिया ओ कान्हा रंग रसिया ओ कान्हा मैं मावरिया सुत बुध बोली तुझको लागी तेरी लग तेरे द्वारे सांझ सकारे तेरा नाम जपे मेरा मन बसिया ओ कान्हा रंग रसिया ओ कान्हा मंगल मंगल बेला मंगल सौरभ सौरभ सारा भोग इन चरणों में फूल चढ़ाने आई तेरी राधा मोहन मन बसिया ओ कान्हा रंग रसिया ओ कान्हा गुरु गयो पढ़न रघुराई Thank you. Over to you, Adi. Thank you so much for hearing. Actually, मैंने बहुत दिन बाद ये song गाया है and it was lovely. Thanks, Adi. Thank you so much to everybody. जितने भी लोग यहाँ पे हैं, your presence actually is, आपका energy यहाँ पे feel हो रहा है. Thank you so much. Over to you, Adi. Thank you.
We are going to have her again on Tuesday for a bigger and a Krishna's youth, right? So we are going to have her again, and it will be bigger satsang. Yeah. Today we had a 20-25 minute satsang, and that day we are going to have a bigger satsang. Yeah. So generally the third day is a celebration day. Yeah. Everybody comes in good clothes, and we are going to get everybody married off. Yeah. Not just Krishna's marriage, but everybody's marriage. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So tomorrow we are going to meet at 5:45. Yeah. Tomorrow at 5:45, and please do not be late. Okay. Then you're going to miss very vital stories. As I said, the story itself, the story is not just an ordinary story. The story itself is God. Yeah. So see you tomorrow again at 5:45. When you go to sleep, just recollect all the stories, whatever you heard. Yeah. And I'm sure, so I'm going to share that tomorrow, not today. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Minakshi, for this beautiful satsang. And I think after the knowledge sessions, everybody goes very deep within, and the songs really take you into bhakti. Yeah. Thank you so much for this beautiful satsang.
Yeah, Apurva is asking which song. You can Google it. Man Basiya. Man Basiya from movie Tere Naam. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Adi. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Jai Gurudev. Tomorrow, 5:45.